Hello everybody and welcome to the tutorial. In today's episode we're going to go from a drop ship to a refinery and assembler and everything in between. Let's crack on. So first I'm just going to do this in a normal game. So come up here, scenario, custom game, and scroll down to star system. That's the one that you probably go with. Now I'm not going to change any of this. I'm not even going to give it a name, to be honest, and let's get going. Right, so first things first, you got to choose where you're going to drop. Now, I know everyone likes Earth, and I'm going to drop at Earth, but please do not consider Mars a bad drop location. It's far easier to find resources. We'll cover that later. But for now, just click respawn, and it'll throw you into a pod, and this pod will gradually fall down to the Earth. Right, now's a good time to come back, because we have landed. So this is pretty normal. Hit F to just jump out. Now, I've pushed V to go into third person. You'll probably be sitting inside. Now, most importantly, you've got your quick bar down the bottom here, and it's just 1, 2, 3, but you can also press Control and a number to switch between them. So bear that in mind. If you want to equip a bar, hit G to bring up this menu. That's a character tool. So, for example, I can drop this down here and I can right click it to remove it. That's how you set up a toolbar. Now let's go back to pointing through the ship. Some basic blocks you need to be aware of. This is a beacon. What does that mean? Well, see where it says respawn pod? Beacon helps with that. And you'll see also at the top there, there's an antenna. Now this, I believe, is our O2H2 gen. So if you find ice, you can put it in here, and these bottles will automatically get refilled if you drop them back in. It's useful, particularly if you're on a planet without oxygen. Here as well, survival kit. Fantastic, bit of storage. More importantly though, if we take a bit of damage, if you walk up to this, hold F, it will slowly heal you back up. Now, something to bear in mind, if we go a bit higher, hope I don't take too much damage. Oh, one more time. Oh, this is maybe a bit risky. Ah, perfect. Now, where's my drop pod? Now, if I sit in the seat, seats will heal you back up. As you can see, it only heals us back to 70%. Now, obviously, this is first person, third person. If you didn't know, scroll wheel on your mouse. If you hold Alt and scroll, you can scroll in and out. And you can also rotate. This is a great way of seeing your surroundings, and that's an interesting patch there, which we'll come to in a minute. Let's scroll back in and jump out. Now, other things on here which are useful, you come up here. Here's your battery. You need that for power. We've also got an ore detector. So what we want to do is jump in here and hit K. This will bring up a menu and show you all the items. Now, this isn't showing you all items, because you can't see the blocks and some of them have been hidden. Now, if we come down to your antenna, you see the broadcast radius is low at the moment, set to 100. Now, if you go more than 100 meters away, you're not going to see it. If I put this up to the maximum, 50k, you're going to run out of power. So don't do that. There's a better way, and we'll touch on that in a second. I can't get this back to 100, but that's fine. If you press Control and then left click, you can just type the number in. That's the quickest way to solve that problem. Right. Now, as I said before, landing gear here, you won't need this. O2H2 gen, again, you'll need it for getting ice, helium, and oxygen. Ore detector, set to maximum range. Brilliant. So it'll show everything it can. We've got a small cargo and a survival kit. So if you want to find your respawn pod quicker than this 100 meter range and you want to save some power, then there's two ways you can do this. One, hit return, type /GPS, and then just type base or whatever you want to call it and hit return. And that will add a GPS marker right on your HUD. Alternatively, if you come up, push I to come into your inventory, go all the way over to GPS, new from current position, and you'll get a default one. You can also change the color of these to whatever makes sense to you. It makes it easy to find it. Now that you've done that, you can come into your pod and you can just turn your antenna Well, basically turn your antenna off and turn your beacon off. You don't need both of them on, and that will save you a bit of power and make your battery last longer. If you want to find out how long your battery lasts, then the easiest way of doing that is to come up to here, push K, which will bring you into your control panel, select your battery, and you'll see we are fully depleted in 8 hours. That's not very long, so let's extend that. Now, if I come down to here and I type in light, then I can press shift and select all of these, or even as you see, I'm selecting one at a time. You see the white bar there shows they're highlighted. I can turn them on, I can turn them off. Now that will force all the lights to be turned off, and if anything, that should increase our battery life a little bit further than it was before. We do this again, and our usage has gone down. Probably not significantly, but it's gone down. Again, beacon should be off, antennas should be off. O2H2 gen, again, not needed. Turn it when you need it. Ore detector, not needed. Most of this can go off. You do need to leave these ones on. And that, again, 3 days. So turn things on and off. I can turn this back on, and we'll see back down to 8 hours. So I'd highly recommend leave the O2H2 gen off unless you need it, and then come and get it. You should still be able to get power from here by pushing F, so nothing to worry about. The first thing you're going to want to do is mine stone for your survival kit. So very simply, crouch, left click, and hold F. Holding F enables you to pick up the resources quickly. So now we've made a divot. One thing I like to do, which makes things a bit easier, is mine uphill here. And you see all the resources roll down, and I can just go down here and push F. Now, I'm nice and close to here, so I just walk over and I push Alt and middle mouse to drop it in. This is by far the quickest way I find. You can absolutely hold F as you're going, but with a lot of things in Space Engineers and other factory games, it's about efficiency. So I'm going to do a lot of mining, get a lot of rocks to pile up at the bottom, and then I'm just going to drop in my survival kit and get some resources. And that will be the most effective way to move things forward. Once you've deposited your stone into the survival kit, if we come over to the survival kit and push K, you can see in the inventory we are now full, and there's not much more we can do. So the question is, what do we do with the stone that we have? Come to production, make gravel. So if I left click, we get 1. If I control click, I get 10. If I shift click, I get 100. If I control and shift click, I get 1,000. Now, we're going to need a lot of this. So I'm going to set it to 14,000, and look, it's now producing the raw resources we need. Now, one thing to bear in mind, I've got some iron here, and I'll show you how I found that in a minute, and you'll see that it's not getting processed. Now, if you look here, I'm not getting a lot of resources. This gravel is going to take up a lot of space, and it's not actually going to help me out. So what I want to do is bring it over here, drag it on here, and just let it roll down the hill. Very slowly. Can I nudge it? Not enough. Eventually, items do despawn if you leave them long enough. I'm going to grab a load more stone, and I'll bring you back in a second. Now, if I press G and type in ref, you can just take this block and drag it down here, as I already have. And same, if you type in assemb, you'll find the basic assembler, which I've already got on 6, and the true assembler on 7. Now, something else you can do, if we type in refinery, we can take this basic refinery and we can just add it down here. Now, in theory, if I shift and middle click, all of those components will go into production, and it will start trying to build that refinery. But when that's finished building or making those components, I know I have enough for my refinery. Once we've got some basic resources in here, is get a platform up and working. So I'm going to hit 4. As you saw earlier, we put the refinery and everything else in there. I'm going to middle mouse click to pull resources out. I'm going to hit 4 again to put it back to large grid. And this is gravity aligned, and you can cycle through different alignments by pressing B. So it'd be like local grid and gravity aligned. But now we're just going to drop that down. Now, roughly, I'm going to say we want probably a 3x4 sort of structure. So let's do this. This will be big enough for everything we want to do. We also need to have power generation. So I'm going to hit X, and I'm just going to fly up quite high because we want to have enough height that when we put the turbines on, we get some power. So let's drop down here. Next thing we want to do is start thinking about where we drop blocks. So I'm not going to go straight to the large refinery because it's a little bit unrealistic. I'm going to stick this in sideways like that. And I'm going to drop a basic assembler, which is this one in here. Now, using your insert home, page up, page down, delete, and keys, you can rotate these blocks around. And you'll notice this only has one connector. So I want to make sure that I line that here, and you can place it. Now it says I need steel plates to place it, so I've obviously run out of steel plates. Not a problem. I can just walk back over here, click on there, and pull them out. And hopefully we'll have some put on here. And if not, which I still don't, then we're back to the grinder and just put it off. And a lot of the early game is going to be basically try and get a platform up and working so that you can get things going. That means I should be able to get this basic assembler now placed here. I can walk on the platform. Yeah, most important thing, just rotate it to align it. Now, priority here is probably going to be that wind turbine at the top. Because without power, none of this matters. But we've probably got resources for some of this already. So I'm just going to weld these up. Now, to add them to your build queue, you can right-click while pushing the box. So see, this is now highlighted. You right-click, adds it to the build planner. Right-click, adds it to the build planner. And all you need then is the middle mouse click to pull things out. And if I can't pull things out of there, it's because there's nothing stored in there. That's just the way it is. Or at least it can't pull the items through the conveyor system on it. Now, it will always build in the order that you added it to your build queue. And you can see your build queue by pushing G. So let's get rid of that one. And you see this will start weld this up. And if I run back over here, I can grab some more components. And this is my job now. So when I've got the refinery built and the assembler, I'll bring you back and I'll show you how big this hole needs to be just to build those two items. And I'll also queue up the production of a wind turbine just to show you what that looks like as well. Right, it's a great time to bring you back because we have, in theory, got this up and working. So now we've got power. This should be able to process our stone or anything else we put inside it. And the assembler should be able to make things. Now, something that's important to realize here, let's see, we need, what, another 11 plates? So let's make sure I get this onto my build queue. So right click, come over here, we do this, see how many interior plates we got. Okay, this looks like it's enough, but, oh, small tubes, not a problem. So we come over here, and we push F on the back bit, not the front, as I keep doing. You can see, I've got enough resources to build stuff. I can't actually build what I need. So one thing we can do is come in here, grab the iron, grab the stone, grab the nickel, and we can turn this into, now we've got power anyway, into the stuff we need. So let's get on here. So first things first, put the stone in there, bang, refined nice and quick. We've got the assembler. Let's drop the raw resources in here. We'll stick that in there as a bit of temporary storage. Now if we open this up and come to production, now I can make the tubes. So let's make 20 of these. And this is going to be far quicker now to process than what we had before. So I'm just going to mine a little bit more of this while we're waiting for those tubes to be built. And that should get us to our, I guess, our first phase, which is basically storage and power. Now, one thing to bear in mind with power, particularly if you're on a, I didn't mean to do that, particularly if you're on a multiplayer server, is that it's quite likely and possible that if your base is not powered, it will despawn. Now, in some servers, they have other mods where they require certain beacons and whatnot, but largely it's the same process. Let's come back here. We need one more. Trust me to be a little bit short. It's because I accidentally dropped stuff in there, but let's quickly grab some more stone. And luckily this doesn't take too long. And you can get an idea, hopefully, from the size of this hole that we have here, how much stone is required just to get to this stage. And by this stage here is simply the stage where you are now able to start making some of the things that you need. Now, for sake of continuity, I'm going to keep building around probably in a circle, but that will give us the last one we need for this. And now we've got a cargo. So this is a good basic setup. And if we just check our wind turbine out, you can see it's producing quite a lot of power. Now that will be consistent. Having a battery on here is not necessary, but I would always recommend it. I'm not going to build one for today, but let's crack on, because the next thing we want to do is probably get a proper assembler on here. And you'll see this needs metal grids, which is going to require cobalt. So one thing we want to do is work out how we get this on, and we don't have any stuff in the queue, so I'm going to shift click this in, and that adds it to construction queue. I'm going to grab our proper big refinery, this one, and I'm going to shift click this in, so that also gets added to the queue. And now we can see how much iron is needed in total. Actually, that doesn't look right at all. I think it built those components. So let's there you go. That will pull things out. There you go. Components that's put into production. That's more like it. And 7. Get that one shift. Now if we look in here, we'll see we've got all the components. And here's a good shopping list. We need iron, nickel, cobalt, silicon. Now silicon and nickel, we actually have more than we need. Cobalt, we don't have any. And iron, we need a lot. So now that we have this, let's go find some real iron and take it from there. So let's fly up nice and high. Now, it's hard to see, but there is patches here on the ground. So if I come over here and pull out a drill, we'll probably find that there's resources underneath. And you see there's iron. So this is brilliant. We need iron. Right, so finding resources, particularly on Earth, can be a bit challenging. Now, when you get better and you can see it, it's relatively straightforward. Now, one thing I find useful, if you come into your options, graphics, and set grass density all the way down to 0, it flattens out the patterns of the grass, which means it becomes a lot easier to spot things. So now I can see this resource pile here, and you can see these from much greater distance, which makes it just far, far easier to find resources. There we go, another set of iron. On Mars, obviously, that's not such an issue. And on Mars, you just get the same silver patches appearing, but they are on the surface, so it's a bit easier to see, and I'll show you that in a second. One more thing you need to look out for are these little silver lines on cliffs. Now, this, I believe, will have some resources, and it does, silicon. So keep an eye out for any discolorations like that. Right, so we've identified where our iron is. Now, best way of getting to it, press C and just right click all the way down. So I'm just moving forwards and holding right click, and this should build a nice little tunnel that I can gradually mine. I can walk my way back up to get there. If I turn around, you can see this is a nice little tunnel, and if I push L, I can turn my lights on. So this is a nice way of getting down to resources, and right clicking, as you can see, makes a nice big hole. And you'll know when you get to resources because, well, you'll see the rock color will change. Once you found the resources, it's just a simple matter of left clicking, and you'll see the resources will all fall out. Now, these will roll downhill, so I can press F to pick up the stone and the iron ore, like this. And that is definitely one way you can do it. Another way you can do it is if you hold your left click and hold F at the same time, you'll actually pick up the resources as they come out on the ground. Now, you'll get to a point where you're basically full and things will not be picked up anymore. And you'll also have a pile on the floor. Now, these will also come together. So I push I to get into my inventory. You can see I've got 533 stone. Left click, drag it onto here, and I can drop it out. And then I can just pick up some more iron ore off the floor. And as you can see, it glows in yellow, and I know I'm getting the right ones. And all I do is leave behind the stone that I didn't need. So let's get back to the dropship and start refining this. Right, so I've just grabbed a few more K of iron, and as we can see, cobalt is just down here. So this is actually really lucky for us because we do need that. So I'm gonna get the iron I need into processing. Now we've got the basic refinery, and then we will come back and start mining that cobalt as well, because we need to get some of that as well. Right, so I thought this was a good time to bring it up since I keep running out of hydrogen. Now, if I just grab the hydrogen bottle and put it in here, you'll see it's automatically filled up my hydrogen for me. So it's just a way to help you mine for a bit longer. And in case I forgot to say it earlier, having your wind turbine higher gives you more power. So don't put it on the ground if you can help it. Always put it up at least 5 to 10 blocks, I'd say. Now, if you can hear carefully, you'll see my assembler is very busy producing stuff. Now, if I go to my control panel, I'm only producing 436 kilowatts. Oh, sorry, I'm only producing 281 right now with a maximum of 436. Now, if I look at my assembler, it requires 280 and it's using 280 and it's fine. If I look at my refinery, it needs 1 kilowatt and it might use up 300, but it's not currently on. Now, if I want to process ores, I can just turn my assembler off. You can hear that change in pitch. That is the refinery now picking up and starting to work. So if you're running with this janky lack of power situation, that's definitely one thing you can do. A battery will help initially, but you obviously need to have more power generation than you have power consumption, as you will run out. Right, I think this is another great little tip for beginners. So if you see I've got 31.4 there. If I drag this down, 39.6 and 40. So I go to production. I don't need any more cobalt. I'm still processing this. So best thing to do is either drag it out and replace it with something else, or just change the priority. You can drag these around. Now, obviously, iron's much more important to me now because if I go to my production queue, I'm lacking a significant amount of iron. So I need to get that producing. Now, the next challenge here is if I want to, for example, get additional power here so I can run both at once, which will speed things up, I just need to put another turbine on. So the question then comes, how do you do that and where do you place it? And it's not too difficult. You literally just need to choose a spot and put it down. Now, one thing to bear in mind with turbines is they really should be a minimum of 3, if not 4 blocks between them to help make sure they don't affect each other. However, that does not apply if you put it on the side. So where I've got this, I can actually put a turbine here and here, and it will be completely fine. And that will triple my output quite simply, and it won't have that much of a power reduction, even considering it drops it down a little bit. Right, so I've just thrown these extra turbines on, and as you can see, I prioritize one over the other to make sure that I get one up and working quickly. And to help maintain my production queue, I added both of these items here. I also stole the items from this ship to help get there quicker. So now what we should see, and we don't have a battery, so we can't see this super easy. We come to our wind turbine, we've got 200, 200, 200. So we've got 600 kilowatts now. And you can hear that if we come into here, we can hear our refinery is working and our assembler. Now that's a massive bonus because it means that things will progress quite a bit quicker for us. Right, so now we get on to placing some blocks. So if I grab an assembler from here now, and we want to put this around this way, something like this. That will allow it to connect there. And oh, hang on, is it not in my build queue? Not in my build queue. But I should be able to do this. There you go. As long as there's no items in the build queue. So let's rotate this and we'll flip it over this way. So I guess our assembler there. And let's see if we can get this welded up to start with. It's going to take a while. Now we've got to be a little bit careful we don't lose access to this container. So one trick you can do is just quickly tap and tap like this, and you'll see the components will keep going up, and eventually you'll get everything you need. So we can see we're a bit short on displays and computers. So let's move the computers. Let's add 10 displays, drop those near the front as well. And that just helps us manage that build queue. So that gets that all the way up and working. Now let's grab our refinery, and we want our supersized one. Now, don't need to grab too much here. I'm just going to grab a few of those. So what I want to do here, and I'm just going to have this hanging off the side, or I can have it if I get up here anyway. So bear in mind we've got a connector there. So the most important thing is to get that connector lined up with the other one. So I'm just going to rotate it around and drop it there. Now, it's not going to be the most convenient, but it will work. So I'm going to get these welded up and we'll come back in a second. Right, so now we're just getting the final component. And that is our refinery and assembler done. So the only thing we really need now is a battery to take care of those last minute pieces. So let's just grab one of these. I mean, luckily we've got some components on us, so we can place it. Now, for a base this size, one battery should be plenty. Now, what I will say, in terms of time frame to go from here to here, it's not too bad. So far we are maybe 3 hours in, I think, to get this state. And the last thing we need to do is just move the survival kit over, and that will probably take it to the full-on 3 hour mark. This game is all about scaling. It's all about taking one thing and building it and making it better. So never try and think of this as you're done. Think of it as a case of I'm done for now, and then there's more work to be done. So like, this is not in any way, shape or form a perfect base, because, you know, it's pretty much exposed. There's not a great deal of storage, but it's functional, and it's enough to get us away from where we are now. So let's grind this down, because we need these medical components so that we can rebuild it. Now, one thing that is worth bearing in mind with this is that you do want to have it accessible, because if you can't access the screen, you just can't heal, and that is quite important, believe it or not. So let's add that to our thing. Oh, and something else, any conveyor port like this, you can absolutely pull components out. You do not need to go all the way around. The only thing you need to be careful of, I guess, or aware of, is you can't pull out of conveyor junctions, but you'll notice when you build those, they have a different color. They don't have these yellow handles on, I believe. I think they're slightly different color. And these ones, these are module ports, so you can't pull out of them. And if you see here, this is obviously a different pattern again. This is a module port and a conveyor connector. So you can definitely pull out of here, and you can also put a module across there for speed or efficiency. So with that all on there, we now have most things we want. The only other thing that we could put on here that we don't have is an O2H2 gem. Now, I'm on Earth, so I can just push J and I do not die. Now, if you're on Mars, it becomes a lot more important. So placement of this is quite important, but it's not vital. So, you know, don't be afraid of stacking some of this stuff inside your base, because while it is useful for it to be easily accessible, it's not vital. And you can see here, I've actually got most of the components for this already, and I haven't had to do anything super hard. And this is just as a result of the scaling. So like now I'm out of components, not a problem. Check my build planner, So let's just clear these. I can add that block in, shift middle mouse click. It will automatically produce the components I need. Middle mouse click to pull them out, and I can finish off welding this up. So you can see how quick it is to get to that. This bit here takes a while. Like this took probably half the time, maybe a little bit more. Getting the rest of it is, it's more a time building it than it is mining it. So bear that in mind. The extra power there speeds up the assembly, but I was spent half hour just waiting for it to finish making the materials. With that all said and done, I think we'll call it quits there. Hopefully you found it useful. If you did, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave some comments, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Fly safe.